I'm Daniel Harper, Sheriff of Fairview, living in the Willow Creek neighborhood of Ohio. They thought a small fine from the HOA would make me bow to their power demands, but they didn't expect they'd just pissed off the wrong guy. What happened next when I uncovered their illegal scheme targeting the hard-working people here changed everything. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video. That morning started like any other. I stepped out of the house, in uniform, ready for my shift at the Fairview Police Department. But when I got to my car, I saw a bright green slip tucked under the wiper. Thinking it was a diner menu, I picked it up to check. My heart sank. A $79 fine from the HOA for improper lawn maintenance. Are you kidding me? I stood there, coffee in hand, looking at the lawn. It was green, healthy, freshly mowed, same as it had been for the 15 years I'd lived here. It wasn't a golf course, but it was neat enough. Then I heard the click of heels on the sidewalk. Good morning. A sugary yet icy voice rang out. Linda Grayson, the newest HOA board member, approached, tablet in hand. She'd been here 6 months, on the board for 3 weeks, and had already made everyone miserable. I nodded politely, holding up the slip. Miss Grayson, care to explain? This lawn's up to standard. She glanced at it, tapping her tablet. Section 7, Clause 3, grass can't exceed 3 inches. Yours is 3.5. I took a deep breath, staying calm like I would with a criminal. I've been busy with a big case this week. I'll mow it this weekend. Linda looked up, smirking faintly. Double the fine if unpaid in 72 hours. She turned and kept inspecting. I watched her go, clutching the paper. Linda didn't know who I was, but she'd just started a fight she'd regret. After Linda Grayson left, I stood there, still gripping the neon green ticket, trying to process what had just happened. In 25 years on the job, I'd faced every kind of crook, thieves, gang members, but never thought I'd be harassed at my own doorstep over grass 3.5 inches tall. Linda didn't stop with me. As she walked off, heels clacking down Willow Creek's sidewalk, I saw her pause at Olivia Bennett's house, 2 doors down. Olivia's a nurse at Fairview Hospital, just off a night shift saving lives. Linda bent down, snapping a photo of Olivia's trash can, the one she hadn't put away yet, exhausted after 12 hours on her feet. I frowned, stepped closer to my car, and watched. Linda typed on her tablet, then slapped another green slip on Olivia's door. I knew it, another fine. She looked up, saw me staring, and flashed a fake sweet smile. This house violated waste regulations. We're taking Willow Creek to new heights, Mr. Harper. I didn't reply, just nodded, but questions started brewing in my head. Who was Linda Grayson to act like she owned this whole neighborhood? She'd moved here 6 months ago, a woman in her 40s, blonde hair perfectly styled, always in expensive business attire. The second she arrived in Willow Creek, Linda campaigned for the HOA board, spouting fancy talk about raising property values and modernizing the community. 3 weeks after winning, she'd turned this peaceful neighborhood into a nightmare. I used to think the HOA just handled fence paint or leaf cleanup, but with Linda, it felt more like a power grab. Driving to the Fairview PD, I glanced at Henry Ortiz's house on the corner. Henry's a firefighter, a devoted dad to his 10-year-old son. The plastic basketball hoop in his yard, loved by the neighborhood kids, now had a green slip stuck to it. I'd bet it was Linda. On the way, I recalled what I'd heard from neighbors. Linda fined Mrs. Margaret Lee for unapproved rose bushes, fined a teacher for an old car in their driveway. It was starting to click. She wasn't just picky, she was targeting people like Olivia, Henry, folks too busy saving lives or putting out fires to chase her petty rules. Sitting in my car, I glanced at the garden gnomes in my yard through the rearview mirror. Emily, my wife, collected them before she passed 5 years ago. Linda called them unapproved, but to me, they're keepsakes. The thought of her erasing them made my blood boil. I knew I couldn't let this slide. Linda Grayson thought she had everything under control, but she didn't know who I was, and I wasn't about to let her keep terrorizing this neighborhood. As I drove through Willow Creek on my way to the station, I could still see her in my mind, tablet in hand, fake smile, turning this peaceful place into her personal power playground. I knew I wasn't the only one Linda was targeting. When I got to the Fairview PD, I opened my phone and checked the Willow Creek Neighborhood Facebook group. A few minutes of scrolling, and I saw a dozen posts complaining about Linda. Olivia Bennett, the nurse fined over her trash, wrote, "I just saved 3 lives on night shift, came home to a $50 fine for trash out 6 hours. Ridiculous." Henry Ortiz, the firefighter, posted a pic of his son's basketball hoop with a green slip, captioned, "My kid can't play in our yard anymore." Mrs. Margaret Lee, a retired teacher here for 30 years, griped, fined $75 for unapproved rose bushes. What's the HOA become? I scrolled more. An elementary teacher, Tom Rivera, got hit for parking his old pickup in his driveway, the truck he uses to haul supplies for his classroom. A single mom, Lisa, shared how Linda banged on her door at 7 a.m. because her kid drew chalk on the sidewalk. Each post was a puzzle piece, and the picture got clearer. Linda wasn't just strict, she was targeting the busiest people, the ones with no time to fight back. Nurses, firefighters, teachers, the folks keeping this community running, were now her prey. That afternoon, I drove home after my shift, feeling heavy. Turning into Willow Creek, I saw Linda in front of my house, tablet out, snapping pics of my garden gnomes. Those gnomes Emily left behind, her last keepsakes, were now in Linda's crosshairs. She looked up, saw me, and waved like she was doing something noble. "Mr. Harper, just logging another violation. Gnomes aren't on the approved decor list." I stepped out of the car, keeping my voice steady. "Miss Grayson, they've been here 15 years. Anyone complain?" She shrugged, tapping her tablet. "New rules, Mr. Harper. We've got to elevate this neighborhood." I watched her walk off, heels clicking steadily on the sidewalk, a bad feeling rising. This wasn't personal anymore. Linda was turning Willow Creek into a place where people feared their own homes. I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. Time to dig deeper. I scrolled the Facebook group again, noting each case. Olivia, Henry, Margaret, Tom, Lisa, all had one thing in common: long hours, no time to keep up with Linda's nonsense rules. Then I recalled what my old academy instructor said. The biggest crimes aren't always headlines, sometimes it's the little injustices that erode a community. Linda wasn't just an annoying neighbor. Her systematic, targeted behavior tripped my cop instincts. I grabbed my phone and texted Ryan Carter, a young officer at the station, "Check Grayson's security for me. Something's off with Linda Grayson's crew." This morning I got to the Fairview PD early, still sipping coffee from home, my mind spinning with what I'd seen on the neighborhood Facebook group. Olivia, Henry, Margaret, all targeted by Linda, and I knew this wasn't just about petty HOA rules. Something bigger was brewing, and I needed help to figure it out. Stepping into the office, I spotted Ryan Carter, a 2-year rookie, checking reports at his desk. Ryan's 28, tall, short brown hair, always buzzing with energy and curiosity, the kind of guy I trust to dig into something deep. "Ryan, got a minute?" I called. He looked up, grinning wide. "Boss says jump." I say, "How high, sir?" I pulled a chair over, lowered my voice. "You hear about Willow Creek? Linda Grayson, new HOA board member, fining folks over tiny stuff, grass, gnomes, trash. But I think something's fishy with her security team, Grayson Security." Ryan raised an eyebrow, nodding. "Grayson Security? Saw their black SUVs around the neighborhood last week. Looked like real cops, but the badges were off." I nodded back, my suspicions from yesterday sharpening.
Exactly.
"I texted you last night. Check their licenses for me. I want to know who they are, how they're registered." Ryan tapped a few keys on his computer, eyes lighting up like a kid with a new toy. "On it, boss. If there's anything shady, I'll find it." I stood, patted his shoulder. "Good. Let me know the second you've got something." But I wasn't sitting idle. Heading to my patrol car, I decided to swing by the Fairview County office where Willow Creek's HOA records are kept. If Linda and Grayson Security were up to no good, I needed proof. Driving through the neighborhood, I saw Linda outside Mrs. Margaret Lee's, tablet in hand, pointing at the rose bushes. Margaret, white-haired, shook her head in dismay. Linda didn't slow down. She was a relentless fine machine. At the county office, I met Lucy Hayes, the clerk who'd been there since I was a rookie. "Daniel, long time no see. What's up today?" Lucy smiled, adjusting her glasses. "Willow Creek HOA records, last 6 months," I said. Lucy nodded, disappearing into the archives. I sat waiting, replaying Linda snapping pics of Emily's gnomes yesterday. The thought of her erasing them made my fists clench. This wasn't just personal. She was attacking the whole neighborhood, and I had to stop it. Lucy returned with a thin stack of files. "Here's everything since Linda Grayson joined the board. She's really pushed those new rules." I thanked her and flipped open the folder right there. Page 1, Linda elected to the board 3 weeks ago, promising to raise living standards. But 25 years of cop intuition told me she wasn't just here to prettify the place. Something shadier was afoot. Driving back to the station, I got a text from Ryan. "Boss, Grayson Security's not clean. Digging deeper, we'll update you tonight." I smirked faintly. Linda Grayson might think she's got it all locked down, but she doesn't know I've got a team, and I don't quit when I smell trouble. Today was a long one at the station. A bank robbery downtown Fairview kept me working until 8 p.m. driving back to Willow Creek. All I wanted was to park, eat dinner and crash. But as I turned into my driveway, I slammed the brakes. 2 black Grayson Security SUVs blocked the street, headlights blazing like a challenge. I sighed, stepped out, and this time, Linda Grayson was already on my lawn, tablet in hand, snapping pics of everything from the hose to the welcome mat. "Mr. Harper, good evening," Linda called, her voice sugary but dripping with sarcasm. She wore an expensive business suit, blonde hair gleaming under the streetlights. "I noticed you still haven't paid that $79 fine, so I had to do a follow-up inspection." I frowned, keeping my tone even despite the heat rising. "Miss Grayson, you're blocking my driveway. I need to get inside." She turned, her faint smile fading, and tapped her tablet. "Oh, this isn't just about the grass anymore. I've got a new list: misplaced hose, unapproved gnomes," and she paused for dramatic effect. "Mailbox in the wrong color." I laughed, incredulous. "Wrong color mailbox. It's white, been here 15 years. Linda nodded, like she'd cracked a major case. "Per last week's new rule, mailboxes must be pearl white from evergreen paint. Yours is plain white, totally different." I shook my head, pulling out my phone to record. "Miss Grayson, I get you want standards, but blocking my driveway like this violates Fairview City Code. Section 2345. You should move those cars now." Her smile froze for a second, but she shrugged it off. "I've got full HOA board authority to enforce rules. This security team," she gestured to 2 guys in loose uniforms leaning on the SUVs, "ensures compliance." I eyed those 2 closely. Their uniforms mimicked real cops, but the badges were off, rough edges, crooked lettering, like cheap print shop knockoffs. With 25 years as a cop, I knew every legit security firm in Fairview, and Grayson Security wasn't one. "Grayson," I said, voice firming. "Blocking my driveway over $79 is unreasonable, and I suspect illegal. I don't want to escalate this." She stepped closer, red nails tapping her tablet. "Threatening me, Mr. Harper? I've got photos of all your violations, and the board will be very interested in your aggressive attitude." She gestured to the 2 guards. "Note that Mr. Harper threatened me." One fumbled for a notepad, his uniform shoulder slipping, revealing a crookedly sewn patch. I smirked. This wouldn't fool me. As Linda turned to snap more photos, I heard hurried footsteps. Mrs. Eleanor Kim, my elderly neighbor next door, rushed out in her nightgown, face panicked. "Daniel, they're blocking my driveway too. I need to get medicine for my husband. He's having an asthma attack." I turned to Linda. "You heard her. Move the cars now, or I'm calling patrol." Linda looked up, glaring at me. "This is HOA business, not police business. I'll add a fine for your attitude." She spun on her heel, signaling the guards to move the cars, but just enough for me to squeeze by. As I parked in the garage, Mrs. Eleanor thanked me profusely, while I watched Linda disappear under the streetlights. Anger surged, but 25 years as a cop taught me to stay cool. Linda thought she held the power, but that fake security crew and her targeting the whole neighborhood convinced me of one thing: she was hiding something. I texted Ryan Carter right away. Dig faster on Grayson Security. Just saw their badges. They're fake. After last night's driveway standoff, I had no more doubts. Linda Grayson wasn't just an annoying pest. She was concealing something, and Grayson Security was the key. Waking up this morning in Willow Creek, my mind still reeled with images of those two goons in fake uniforms, and the way Linda threatened both me and Mrs. Eleanor Kim. I sipped my coffee, gazing at the garden gnomes through the window, Emily's keepsakes, and told myself, she's not getting away with this. At the Fairview PD, I found Ryan Carter already at his desk, eyes glued to his computer screen, fingers flying like he was racing time. "Boss, just as I thought, Grayson Security's not clean," Ryan called out as I walked in. I pulled up a chair beside him, setting my coffee down. "Tell me what'd you find?" Ryan swung his monitor toward me, pointing to an online business registry page. Grayson Security was registered exactly 3 months ago, right after Linda Grayson joined the HOA board. Owner's Michael Grayson. I'd bet he's her brother. But here's the kicker. The company address is just a P.O. box outside Fairview, no real office. I frowned, a chill running down my spine. No private security license. Ryan shook his head. "Nope, boss. Ohio requires every security firm to have a state license. Background checks for employees, the works. Grayson Security has nothing. They're not legit." I nodded slowly, recalling the sloppy badges on those guys last night. "You're right about the badges. They're fakes. Saw it clear as day when they blocked my drive." Ryan tapped a few more keys, eyes gleaming. "There's more." I dug deeper on Michael Grayson. He ran 3 other security companies in Indiana, Kentucky, and Michigan. All crashed after complaints of aggressive behavior, blocking cars, intimidating residents, but he always vanished before investigations kicked in. I stood, pacing the room, piecing it together. So Linda and Michael are running some game in Willow Creek. She uses the HOA to impose rules. He uses the security team to enforce them. But why? Ryan shrugged. Could be the fines. Each ticket, $50, $75, $79, adds up if they hit the whole neighborhood. I nodded, but my gut said there was more. "Keep digging, Ryan. I'll check more from the HOA side." On my way to the patrol car, I stopped by the Fairview County office again. Lucy Hayes greeted me with her usual smile. "More HOA files, Daniel?" I nodded. "Need the board meeting minutes last 3 months?" Lucy brought back a thicker stack this time. I flipped through, stopping at the meeting from 3 weeks ago when Linda was elected. A small line caught my eye. Linda Grayson proposed hiring Grayson Security as the HOA's enforcement arm, approved by the board 4-9. No competitive bids, no disclosure that Michael's her brother, clear conflict of interest, breaking the HOA's own bylaws. Driving back to Willow Creek, I called Ryan. "You were right about Michael. Linda hired his company without disclosing they're related. Anything new?" Ryan answered fast, voice buzzing. "Just found it, boss. Michael got sued in Kentucky for blocking a residential street, forcing people to pay fines directly to him instead of the HOA. He bolted when cops stepped in." I gripped the wheel tighter. Same as last night. They want cash, not just control. Back home, I found another green slip under my car's wiper. $150 fine for non-cooperation with HOA inspection. Linda wasn't letting up. I stepped outside, looking around. Olivia Bennett was dragging her trash can in, face weary from her night shift. "Another fine, Daniel?" she asked. I nodded, holding up the slip. "She's not sparing anyone." Olivia sighed. "I can't keep paying these." I went inside, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. What Ryan uncovered and the HOA records lined up. Linda and Michael were turning Willow Creek into their personal cash machine. But I needed more proof, something solid to crush this scheme. I texted Ryan. "Check Grayson Security's finances. Find out where the fine money's going." Linda might think she's clever, but 25 years as a cop taught me one thing. The greedy always leave a trail, and I was about to find hers. The more I dug, The surer I got that Linda Grayson didn't just want to control Willow Creek. She and her brother Michael were after something much bigger. This morning I woke up with that $150 fine still on the kitchen table. A reminder that Linda wasn't stopping. But after what Ryan Carter uncovered about Grayson Security last night, I knew this wasn't just about petty fines. Driving to the Fairview PD, my mind raced if they'd fake a security team. What else would they dare? Ryan was waiting in the office, holding a coffee and a stack of printouts. "Boss, I got this last night. You've got to see it." He slid the stack toward me. I flipped to the first page. A contract between the Willow Creek HOA board and Grayson Security, signed 2 months ago, worth $50,000 for community rule enforcement. This wasn't publicly bid, Ryan said, pointing to Linda's signature. She convinced the board to hire Michael, no objections except one vote against. I frowned. $50,000 just to block driveways and fine grass. That's absurd. Ryan nodded, flipping to the next page. There's more. Remember the flooding in Willow Creek last spring? Water swamped streets, wrecked the drainage system. The HOA had to fix it fast. I nodded. I'd helped evacuate Mrs. Eleanor Kim when the water hit knee-deep. Who'd they hire? Ryan pointed to a small line. Grayson Construction, Michael Grayson's company, won a $300,000 bid. Other firms quoted $100,000, but the board picked Michael. Linda pushed it. I shot up, heart pounding. $300,000, triple market rate, and no one questioned it. Ryan shrugged. Board's 5 people. Linda swayed 4 votes. Only Mrs. Margaret Lee objected, but she was outvoted. I paced, connecting the dots. Linda joins the HOA, funnels fat contracts to her brother, then uses Grayson Security to strong-arm residents into compliance. This wasn't just fines. They were bleeding the neighborhood dry. I grabbed my phone, called Lucy Hayes at the county office. "Lucy, I need the HOA's financial records from last spring to now." Lucy chuckled over the line. "Daniel, you're really digging into this. I'll email them in an hour." Hanging up, Ryan looked at me. "Boss, what do you think they're doing with the money?" I shrugged. "Could be laundering. Or just greed. But I bet the fines are feeding their pockets too." That afternoon, I drove through Willow Creek, stopping at Mrs. Eleanor Kim's house. She was watering plants out front, waving when she saw me. "Daniel, thanks for last night. But I've got to tell you something." She lowered her voice, glancing around like she feared eavesdroppers. "Yesterday, I saw them install cameras on the streetlights. No permission from anyone. Linda said it's for security, but they're aimed right at my house, yours and Olivia's." I frowned. "Unauthorized cameras? In a residential area?" She nodded. I asked, and she said it's a new rule, but I don't buy it. I thanked Mrs. Eleanor, walked back to my car, mind spinning. Illegal surveillance in my neighborhood? This wasn't HOA business anymore. This was straight-up law-breaking. I called Ryan immediately. "Heard about cameras yet, Mrs. Eleanor just tipped me. Linda's putting them on streetlights, aimed at residents' homes." Ryan groaned over the phone. "Another layer, boss. I just checked Grayson Security's finances. They got $20,000 from the HOA last month for security equipment installation. No receipts, no details." I gripped the wheel harder. $20,000 for illegal cameras. Linda and Michael are turning Willow Creek into their private business. Ryan agreed. "I'll track down who made those cameras, might trace the money." I nodded, though he couldn't see. "Good. I'll check Lucy's email. If the HOA finances match Michael's contracts, we've got proof." Back home, I opened my laptop. Lucy's email had arrived. I flipped through the financials. $300,000 to Grayson Construction, $50,000 to Grayson Security, $20,000 for security, all approved by Linda. But one line stopped me cold. HOA reserve fund dropped from $400,000 to $50,000 in 6 months. The neighborhood's money was vanishing, and Linda was at the center of it all. I texted Ryan, "HOA finances confirm, they're gutting the fund." dig into the cameras, and find money. Linda might think she's smart, but she just exposed a scheme bigger than I'd imagined. With 25 years on the job, I knew when money flows funny, it's a crime's footprint. Just when I thought I had Linda Grayson and her scheme figured out, a call this morning flipped everything upside down. I was sitting in my Willow Creek kitchen, staring at Lucy Hayes' email showing the HOA fund dropped from $400,000 to $50,000 when my phone rang. Mayor Dawson flashed on the screen. I took a deep breath, knowing this wasn't trivial. "Daniel, I hear you're stirring trouble with the HOA in Willow Creek." Dawson's voice came through, low but sharp. "Linda Grayson filed a complaint with the city council, says you threatened her, and abused police authority." I gripped the phone, keeping my tone steady. "Mayor, she blocked my driveway, my neighbors too, with an unlicensed security crew. I just asked her to move the cars, per Fairview law." Dawson sighed. "I know you don't like messes, Daniel, but Linda's connected to Councilman Bradley. He wants this quiet. Keep the peace, don't escalate." I smirked, picturing Linda snapping photos of Emily's gnomes. "Peace? She's draining the HOA fund and harassing residents, nurses, firefighters, people who don't deserve this. I can't look the other way." Dawson paused. "I'm not saying you're wrong, but be careful. Push too hard, and they'll bite back at you and the department." I thanked him, hung up, but his warning didn't deter me. It pissed me off more. Linda wasn't just targeting Willow Creek. She was pulling the city council into her dirty game. I texted Ryan Carter immediately. "Mayor just called. Linda's suing me with the council. Got anything new?" Ryan replied in 5 minutes. "Boss, the cameras are cheap junk from an Indiana company, not security grade. Grayson Security charged the HOA $20,000, but real cost was $2,000. Guess where the rest went?" I nodded at the screen. "Michael Grayson's pocket." "Good, Ryan. Stay on it." I stood, grabbed my keys. If Linda wanted to play big, I'd show her I don't back down. On my way to the Fairview PD, I swung by Olivia Bennett's house. She'd just gotten off her night shift, eyes sunken, dragging her trash can in. "Daniel, she fined me again," Olivia said, holding up a green slip. $75 for trash out past hours. I shook my head. "She's not stopping." "I'm handling it, Olivia." She nodded wearily. "Thanks. I don't know what to do anymore." Seeing her, I thought of Emily. She'd been a nurse too, always putting patients first. Linda dared to mess with people like this? Not on my watch. At the station, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and reviewed Lucy's email. The HOA fund tanking, fat contracts to Michael, illegal cameras, all had Linda's fingerprints. But Dawson's call reminded me to tread carefully. If the city council backed Linda, I needed airtight proof. I called Lucy again. "Lucy, I need HOA board minutes from when Linda joined, every detail on votes and contracts." Lucy laughed. "Daniel, you're turning Willow Creek upside down, huh? Sending now." That afternoon, I got another email, a letter from Linda, via her lawyer, accusing me of abusing authority and harassing an HOA member. She demanded a public apology and withdrawal of all hostile actions, or she'd sue. I laughed, tossing it on the desk. Linda thought this would scare me. She didn't know I'd face threats 100 times worse, smugglers, murderers, in my 25 years. I stepped outside the station, gazing at the Fairview sunset. Pressure from the mayor, Linda's letter, it only fueled me more. I remembered Emily's words when I wanted to quit policing after a tough case. "Don't let injustice win, Daniel. If you don't fight, who will?" She was right. Linda and Michael were gutting Willow Creek, harassing folks like Olivia, Henry, Mrs. Eleanor, the people keeping this community alive. I wouldn't let them win. After the mayor's call, and Linda Grayson's threatening letter, I knew I couldn't waste time. She wanted to escalate, sue me in court, but I wouldn't let her and Michael turn Willow Creek into their private gold mine without consequences. This morning I hit the Fairview PD with iron resolve. Gather enough evidence to crush this before Linda could strike. Ryan Carter was waiting in the office, beaming like he'd struck gold. "Boss, I got this last night. You'll love it." He slid a stack of papers my way. The top page was an invoice from an Indiana electronics firm. 10 security cameras, $2,000, delivered to Grayson Security. I frowned, matching it to Ryan's find yesterday. $20,000 from the HOA for cameras, but real cost was $2,000. Where's the other $18,000? Ryan nodded, checked Grayson Security's account. $18,000, transferred to Michael Grayson's personal account, right after the HOA paid. No receipts, no explanation. I smiled for the first time today. Blatant fraud. Great work, Ryan, but I needed more. I opened Lucy Hayes' email. The HOA board minutes had just arrived. I flipped fast, stopping at the spring repair contract meeting. Grayson Construction awarded $300,000, proposed by Linda Grayson. No competitive bids, no disclosure about Michael. A small note from Mrs. Margaret Lee. I object, price too high, needs public bidding. But the other 4 votes, under Linda's sway, passed it. Clear conflict of interest, I said, showing Ryan. She's breaking the HOA's own rules. Ryan nodded, typing more on his computer. There's more, boss. Found traffic cam footage near Linda's house. She's running a nail salon out of her garage. 5 might is 6 clients a day. HOA bans home businesses, but she's doing it. I raised an eyebrow. She fines Lisa for her kids' chalk, but runs an unpermitted salon. Ryan grinned, hypocrisy at its finest. I stood, snapping photos of the minutes and camera invoice with my phone. Need more financial proof. If HOA funds are flowing to Michael, we can nail them for fraud. Ryan nodded. I'll request Grayson Security's bank statements, legit through the department. I clapped his shoulder. Good. I'll get more from the community. At noon, I drove through Willow Creek, stopping at Henry Ortiz's house. He was fixing his son's basketball hoop, sweaty and focused. Daniel, you dealing with Linda yet? She just fined me $100 for this, he said, holding up a green slip. I nodded. Working on it, Henry. Got any photos or videos of her hassling you? Henry nodded. Caught her on camera yesterday, snapping pics of the hoop, threatening to double the fine. He sent me the video. I watched Linda, crystal clear, voice icy. No payment in 48 hours, it doubles. Next, I stopped by Olivia Bennett's house. She'd just woken up after her night shift, eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Daniel, I got another fine, $75 more for the trash can. I can't keep up anymore. I reassured her. I'm gathering evidence, Olivia. Do you have the tickets? She nodded, handing me a stack of green slips, 5 and 2 months. She's targeting me because I don't have time to fight back. Olivia said, her voice trembling. I nodded. Not just you, the whole neighborhood. Late that afternoon, I met Mrs. Eleanor Kim in her yard. She held a watering can, but her face was etched with worry. Daniel, the camera on the streetlight's still filming my house. I saw a Grayson Security guy checking it this morning. I frowned. I'll handle it. Got any photos? She nodded, showing me her phone. A picture of a uniformed guy, adjusting the camera toward my house. Perfect, I said. That's evidence of illegal surveillance. Back home, I spread everything on the kitchen table. HOA minutes, camera invoices, the $18,000 bank statement, Henry's video, Olivia's stack of fines, Eleanor's camera photo. But I needed a knockout punch. I called Ryan. Got those bank statements yet? Ryan replied. Just got them, boss. The HOA wired $50,000 to Grayson Security from the reserve fund, no specific purpose listed, and another $10,000 to Linda's account, labeled consulting fees. I gripped the phone. Consulting fees. She's paying herself with neighborhood money. I opened my laptop, adding the new evidence to the file. Linda and Michael weren't just scamming, they were systematically gutting Willow Creek, but I knew I had to be smart. Linda's lawsuit letter and pressure from Mayor Dawson reminded me everything needed to be airtight, legal. I backed up the files to a USB and emailed Anna Pierce, a local reporter I trusted. Anna, I've got a big story on the Willow Creek HOA. Meet me tomorrow? Before bed, I looked out at the garden. Moonlight hit Emily's gnomes, and I recalled her words, "Don't let injustice win." Linda might think she held the power, but I had enough to make her tremble. I texted Ryan, Get ready, we're about to hit hard. But every time I thought I was ready to take Linda Grayson down, she found a way to hit back harder. This morning, I woke up in Willow Creek, double-checking the USB and the email to Anna Pierce from last night. I knew I had enough to expose Linda, from financial fraud, illegal cameras, to her unlicensed nail salon. Stepping out to my car, I found another green slip under the wiper, a $300 fine for non-cooperation and repeated violations. Linda wasn't just targeting me, she was declaring war. Driving through the neighborhood, heading to the Fairview PD, I spotted two Grayson Security black SUVs parked outside Henry Ortiz's house. Henry stood in his yard, holding a green slip, face red with fury. "Daniel, she fined me $500, says the basketball hoop's a safety hazard. I just saw them block an ambulance on Maple Street." I frowned, walking over. "An ambulance?" Henry nodded. "Old man next door had a heart attack. The rig couldn't get through because of their SUVs. I had to yell to make them move." I turned back to my car, heart pounding. Blocking an ambulance? This wasn't a game anymore. Linda and Michael were causing real danger. I called Ryan Carter immediately. "Ryan, Linda's escalating. They just blocked an ambulance in Willow Creek. Got anything new?" Ryan answered, voice urgent. "Boss, I just saw an email from the bank. Another $30,000 from the HOA fund to Grayson Security this week, labeled emergency services. No details, no public approval." I gripped the phone. "They're pulling more money? We've got to move fast." At noon, I got a text from Olivia Bennett. "Daniel, help. Linda's threatening to foreclose on my house because I haven't paid 5 fines, $400 total." I drove to Olivia's right away. She stood at her door, eyes red, clutching a stack of green slips. "I don't have the money, Daniel. Night shifts barely cover bills." I patted her shoulder. "She can't foreclose. I'm on it." "Stay calm, Olivia." But inside I was boiling. Linda wasn't just draining the HOA fund, she was trying to ruin residents' lives. Late afternoon, I stopped by Mrs. Eleanor Kim's. She stood in her yard, pointing at the streetlight. "Daniel, they added another camera. Now there's 2 aimed at my house." I looked up, 2 sleek black lenses, clearly targeting her home, mine and Olivia's. "She's watching us," Eleanor said, voice shaky. I saw a guard taking notes every time I stepped outside. I clenched my jaw. This wasn't security, it was organized intimidation. Back home, I found a letter taped to my door, from Linda, via her lawyer. "Mr. Harper, due to your non-cooperation and threats, the HOA demands $1,000 in fines within 48 hours, or will seize your property to offset the fund." I tore the letter, tossed it down. Foreclose on my house? Over tall grass and Emily's gnomes. Linda had gone too far. I texted Anna Pierce. "Meet me tonight, it's bigger than I thought." That evening, as I sorted evidence, the doorbell rang. Henry, Olivia, and Mrs. Eleanor stood outside, faces tense. "Daniel, Linda called an emergency HOA meeting tomorrow night," Henry said. "She wants more security and cameras across the whole neighborhood, says it's to protect property." Olivia cut in. "She texted me, if I don't pay the fines they'll lock my house." Mrs. Eleanor added. "I heard her tell a guard, Harper's the biggest problem, deal with him." I looked at them, responsibility weighing heavy. Linda didn't just want money, she wanted total control of Willow Creek, and I was her only obstacle. "Don't worry," I said, voice firm. "I've got evidence, fraud, illegal cameras, everything. Tomorrow's meeting is our chance." Henry nodded. "We trust you, Daniel. But she's got the HOA board and a lawyer, are you sure?" I gave a small smile. 25 years as a cop, I've never let the bad guys win. After they left, I called Ryan. "Linda's holding an emergency HOA meeting tomorrow night, pushing for more power. Are the bank statements solid?" Ryan replied, "Solid, boss. The latest $30,000 plus the $18,000 from the cameras, all to Michael's pocket. I've got it printed." I nodded into the phone. "Good. Bring it tomorrow." After what she'd done, blocking an ambulance, threatening to foreclose on me and Olivia, installing illegal cameras. I was ready. I stood in front of the mirror in my Willow Creek home, adjusting my jacket, no uniform to keep my identity low until the last second. In my hand was a briefcase with every piece of evidence, bank statements, HOA minutes, camera invoices, Henry's video, Eleanor's photos. Ryan Carter texted this afternoon. "Boss, I've got it all ready to meet you at the community center." I drove to the Willow Creek Community Center, where the emergency HOA meeting was set. The parking lot was packed. I'd never seen so many neighbors show up. Linda had called it to enhance security, but I knew she wanted to solidify her grip and silence me. Stepping inside, I saw over 50 residents filling the room, whispering anxiously. Linda stood at the front, in a sharp red business suit, tablet in hand, addressing the board. 4 middle-aged men, and Mrs. Margaret Lee, the lone voice who'd opposed her. Outside the door, 2 Grayson security goons stood guard, glaring around like they dared anyone to speak up. Linda started, her voice sugary but cutting. "Thank you all for coming. Willow Creek faces a serious issue. Residents not following rules threatening our property values. I propose expanding Grayson security and installing cameras on every street. Who's in favor? Raise your hands." A few hands went up timidly, but I saw Olivia Bennett at the back, eyes red, clutching a fine slip. Henry Ortiz shook his head, muttering to Mrs. Eleanor Kim. Linda tapped her tablet, smirking faintly. "Good, we'll vote right after discussion." I stood from the back row walking to the center, briefcase in hand. Whispers spread. Linda frowned, not recognizing me out of uniform. "Before we vote," I said, voice ringing clear, "there's something everyone needs to know." Linda cut in. "Mr. Harper, sit down. This isn't the place for your aggression." I smiled faintly. "I'm not just a resident, Miss Grayson. I'm Daniel Harper, Fairview Chief of Police, and I've been investigating you and Grayson security." The room erupted in murmurs. Linda paled, nearly dropping her tablet, but she regained composure fast. "Nonsense. You've got no right meddling in HOA affairs." I raised a hand, silencing the crowd, then opened my briefcase, pulling out the projector Ryan brought. "Take a look at this." The first slide flashed up a photo of Linda's garage with 6 nail salon clients. Miss Grayson runs an illegal nail salon from her home, violates HOA Rule 7 banning home businesses, but she fined Lisa for her kids' chalk. Shouts broke out. Lisa stood. "That's right. I got a $50 fine." Next slide, the $2,000 camera invoice and $20,000 HOA payment. She charged us $20,000 for cameras worth $2,000. $18,000 went to Michael Grayson, her brother. Ryan stood from the corner, holding up bank statements. "Here, I've got proof." Linda yelled, "That's a fair security cost." I shook my head, showing the next slide. Grayson Construction's $300,000 contract. Spring drainage repair, triple the normal rate. No bidding, pushed by Linda. Clear conflict of interest. Mrs. Margaret Lee shot up. I told them no one listened. The room's noise swelled. I projected Eleanor's streetlight camera photo. Illegal cameras, no permits, spying on residents, against Ohio law. And this. I played Henry's video, Linda threatening to double fines over a basketball hoop. Henry shouted, "She blocked an ambulance yesterday." Olivia broke down. "She's trying to take my house over $400 in fines." Linda lunged, trying to yank the projector cord. "Lies. You're abusing police power." I stepped forward, blocking her. "Everything here's public HOA records, bank statements, videos, and this." I held up the final statement. $30,000 more from the HOA fund to Michael, plus $10,000 consulting fees for Linda. The reserve fund dropped from $400,000 to $50,000 under her watch. The room exploded. "Give our money back. She's a thief." Linda spun to the board, voice shaking. "I did this for the neighborhood. Harper's fabricating this for revenge." But Mrs. Margaret Lee cut her off. "I suspected from the start. She manipulated us." A board member, pale with shame, muttered, "We didn't know where the money went." I held up Olivia's fine stack. She targeted nurses, firefighters, the elderly, people who couldn't fight back. Here's the proof. Residents stood, shouting, "Kick her out. Audit now." Linda tried to bolt, but Henry and others blocked her. "Not so fast." I looked at her, voice steely. "You can sue me, but facts don't change. Grayson Security's fake, and you're wrecking Willow Creek." Linda screamed, face flushed. "You can't prove anything. I'll sue you to the end." But applause drowned her out. Mrs. Margaret stood, voice trembling but resolute. "I move for an emergency vote. Remove Linda Grayson from the board and audit all HOA finances." "Aye," echoed through the room. Linda grabbed her tablet, shoved through the crowd and bolted out, the two guards scrambling after. I looked around. Olivia hugged Henry. Mrs. Eleanor clapped. Residents cheered. As Linda Grayson fled the community center, tablet in hand, her two Grayson security goons trailing, I stood amid a room still ringing with applause and excited shouts. Mrs. Margaret Lee, voice shaky but determined, raised a hand for quiet. "We just voted Linda Grayson off the HOA board. Unanimous 100%. Cheers erupted again. I scanned the room. Olivia Bennett clung to Henry Ortiz. Mrs. Eleanor Kim patted my shoulder, and over 50 faces glowed with hope. Margaret continued. "I also propose a full audit of HOA finances since Linda joined. We'll take back what was stolen." A board member, face still pale with shame, stood. "I'm sorry, we were manipulated by her." "I support the audit." The room roared agreement. "Aye." I stepped forward, placing my briefcase on the board's table. "Here's all the evidence, statements, contracts, invoices. Give it to the auditors and call state police if needed. Michael Grayson's accountable too." Margaret nodded. "Thank you, Daniel. You saved this neighborhood." As people filed out, Olivia approached, eyes still red but a faint smile breaking through. "Daniel, I don't know what to say. She almost took my house." I patted her shoulder. "Not anymore, Olivia. We won." Henry jumped in, fist raised. "My son's hoop is safe thanks to you." I grinned. "Not just me, the whole neighborhood did this." Mrs. Eleanor tugged me aside, whispering, "You're a hero, Daniel. I'm baking for you." I nodded, warmth spreading. For the first time in months, Willow Creek felt like home. This morning, I drove through the neighborhood, seeing a different scene. No more Grayson Security black SUVs. Instead, Fairview police cars patrolled, keeping things steady. At the station, I met Ryan Carter holding a fresh report. "Boss, state police just opened a case on Michael Grayson. Your bank statements and contracts were the clincher." I nodded. "Good. What about Linda?" Ryan grinned. "She left Willow Creek this morning. A moving truck was at her place. Rumor is the city council's questioning her over your complaint." I smirked. "She's not off easy yet." "Where's Anna Pierce?" Ryan pointed out the window. Anna stood outside with a camera crew. I stepped out to meet her. "Daniel, my story hit the front page this morning. Willow Creek HOA, fraud and power exposed. I used everything you gave me. The community's buzzing." I nodded. "Thanks, Anna. Going public's the only way to keep them from coming back." Anna smiled. "You're the star, Chief." I shook my head. "No, it's all of Willow Creek." That afternoon, I got an email from Mrs. Margaret. Preliminary audits done. Linda and Michael siphoned over $120,000 from the HOA fund through fines, contracts, and consulting fees. "We're refunding everyone." I exhaled, sitting at the kitchen table. $120,000, enough to fix roads, upgrade the park, instead of lining two greedy pockets. I replied. "Fantastic. Keep me posted." That night, laughter echoed down the street. Through the window, I saw kids playing basketball in Henry's yard, no longer afraid of fines. Eleanor watered plants, waving up at me. Olivia walked home from her shift, no green slips in hand. Then the doorbell rang. Henry, Olivia, and Mrs. Margaret stood there with trays of cookies and coffee. "Daniel, we're throwing a barbecue this weekend to thank you," Henry said. "The whole neighborhood's coming." I grinned. I won't say no to Eleanor's cookies. After they left, I stepped into the garden, gazing at Emily's gnomes under the moonlight. Linda nearly destroyed this place, my home, the community I loved. But last night, I didn't fight alone. Henry shouted for his son. Olivia cried for her house. Margaret stood for justice. Together, we drove Linda out of Willow Creek. I texted Ryan, "You did great. Take tomorrow off. I owe you a barbecue." He shot back, "Wouldn't miss it, boss." The next day I drove by Linda's house. The moving truck was gone, windows bare. She'd lost, but I knew Michael was still under investigation, and state police wouldn't let up. I stopped at the community center, where Mrs. Margaret hung a sign, "New HOA, transparent and fair." I smiled. Willow Creek had reclaimed itself. Back home, I sat reflecting on 25 years as a cop. I'd cracked big cases, but this was different. I protected where I lived, the people I cared about. Linda and Michael thought they could bully us, but they didn't get it. A united community is stronger than any fake security crew. I picked up my phone, texting Anna, "Update me if Michael's arrested. I want this finished." Willow Creek won, but I knew my job wasn't done, not until everything was fully righted. A few days after the emergency HOA meeting that changed Willow Creek forever, I woke up early this morning, brewed coffee, and stepped into my front yard. No more green slips under my car's wiper, no more Grayson security SUVs blocking the drive. Instead, I heard birds chirping and kids laughing as they played basketball in Henry Ortiz's yard a few houses down. Linda Grayson was gone, Michael was under investigation, and this neighborhood, my home for 15 years, could finally breathe again. Driving through Willow Creek, I saw the changes. At Olivia Bennett's house, her trash can sat undisturbed, no longer fined, and she waved as I passed, a slight smile on her face. "Daniel, I just got my $400 in fines refunded," she called. I stopped, grinning back. "Good, Olivia. Use it to rest after those night shifts." She nodded. "Thanks to you, I feel safe here for the first time in months." I nodded back, satisfaction spreading. At the corner, I saw Henry Ortiz reattaching his son's basketball hoop, no longer fearing a $500 fine. His 10-year-old Tommy sank a shot, cheering loudly. Henry spotted me, waving. "Daniel, barbecue this weekend's still on, right? The neighborhood wants to thank you." I laughed. "I'll be there, no way I'm missing grilled meat." Henry nodded. "You deserve more than a party, Chief." I kept driving, pulling up at Mrs. Eleanor Kim's. She was watering plants, no longer glancing nervously at the streetlight. The 2 illegal cameras were removed this morning. Fairview City Maintenance took them down at the new HOA board's request. Eleanor saw me, set her can down, and walked over. "Daniel, you see, no one's watching me anymore." I nodded. "Good, Mrs. Eleanor. You feeling okay?" She smiled, eyes bright. "Thanks to you, I'm sleeping better than ever. Cookies for the barbecue are in the oven." At the Fairview PD, I met Ryan Carter at the entrance, holding a fresh report. "Boss, update. State police just raided Michael Grayson's P.O. box office. Found fake paperwork and statements matching your evidence. He could face fraud and impersonating law enforcement charges." I clapped Ryan's shoulder. "Excellent. What about Linda?" Ryan grinned. "She's been quiet since she left. Word is she's hunting for a lawyer, but no one in Fairview will take her case." I nodded. "She dug her own grave." "Great work, Ryan." At noon, I got an email from Mrs. Margaret Lee. "Daniel, audit's complete. Linda and Michael siphoned $128,000 total from the HOA fund. We're refunding residents, starting with Olivia and Henry. The rest will fix roads and the park." I replied, "Great job, Margaret. Keep the neighborhood transparent." I smiled. $128,000 back where it belonged, not in 2 greedy hands. Late afternoon, I stopped by the Willow Creek Community Center. Mrs. Margaret and the new board hung a sign. Transparent HOA, no unfair fines, no shady contracts. A group of residents gathered, planning the weekend barbecue. Lisa, the mom fined for her kids' chalk, approached me. "Daniel, I got my $50 back." "Thank you." I nodded. "No need to thank me, Lisa. Your kid can draw freely now." She smiled, relief in her eyes. Driving home, I saw kids biking on the street, no longer afraid of Linda snapping photos or issuing fines. Before, Willow Creek was hushed with fear. Now it buzzed with life. I parked, stepped into my garden, and looked at Emily's gnomes in the sunset. Linda nearly ruined this place, but she didn't understand a united community's power. Olivia, Henry, Mrs. Eleanor, Margaret, each one helped push her out. That night, I sat in the kitchen, flipping on the TV. The local news ran Anna Pierce's story. Michael Grayson arrested in Indiana, facing multiple charges after the Willow Creek fraud scandal. Linda Grayson declines comment. I shut it off, smirking. Justice hit not just for me, but for the whole neighborhood. I texted Ryan, Michael's nabbed. You've earned a break. He shot back. Barbecue's enough, boss. I stepped outside, breathing the fresh air. Willow Creek didn't just survive, it came back stronger. Linda and Michael thought they could bully us, but they lost. I looked at the gnomes, whispering to Emily in my mind. We did it. A week after Linda Grayson's ousting from Willow Creek, this neighborhood truly felt like home again. This morning, I woke early, brewed coffee, and stepped into the garden before sunrise. Dawn light hit Emily's gnomes, the keepsakes Linda once called unapproved. I smiled. She'd lost, and what Emily left behind still stood, a symbol of our victory. Driving through Willow Creek, I saw it alive like never before. Kids biked, scribbling chalk on the sidewalk without fear of fines. Henry Ortiz and his son Tommy played basketball in their yard, the hoop now a joy, not a worry. Olivia Bennett stood at her door, coffee in hand, waving as I passed. Daniel, I paid my bills with the refund. Thank you. I nodded. Take care, Olivia. Mrs. Eleanor Kim watered plants, beaming when she saw me. Cookies for the barbecue are ready, Daniel. At the Fairview PD, Ryan Carter greeted me with a wide grin. Boss, final update. Michael Grayson pleaded guilty to fraud this morning. He says Linda masterminded it all, but she's skipped Ohio. I raised an eyebrow. She won't hide forever. Thanks, Ryan. You were the star here. Ryan laughed. No, boss. You led the charge. Barbecue tonight, right? I nodded. Wouldn't miss it. That afternoon, I hit the Willow Creek Park barbecue. Over 60 residents gathered. Grill smoke wafted. Kids ran around. Adults laughed. Mrs. Margaret Lee stood beside me, holding a plate of cookies. Daniel, you gave us our neighborhood back. The HOA funds now enough to fix this park. No more shady deals. I smiled. It was the whole community, Margaret. I just did my part. She shook her head. Too modest. You won't be forgotten. As the sun set, Tommy, Henry's son, ran up with a handmade card. He shyly handed it over. Inside, a drawing of me in my uniform, standing before a colorful house, scrawled words. Thank you, Mr. Harper, for making the neighborhood fun. I knelt, ruffled his hair. Thanks, Tommy. You made my day too. Henry grinned from afar. He worked on that all day, Daniel. I nodded, keeping the card. It'd sit on my desk at the station, a reminder of what really matters. That night at home, I sat in the garden, eyeing Emily's gnomes under the moonlight. I thought back to Linda's early days. Fines, black SUVs, illegal cameras. She and Michael figured they could bully us, siphon cash from the HOA fund, tear this community apart. But they didn't get it. Willow Creek isn't just a place, it's family. Olivia fought for her home, Henry for his son, Mrs. Eleanor for peace, and me for what Emily left. We stood together, and we won. I got an email from Anna Pierce. Linda tried joining an HOA 2 hours away, but they rejected her after my article. Justice travels, Daniel. I smirked. Linda could run, but her reputation couldn't hide. Michael was jailed. The HOA fund restored. Willow Creek is now a living testament. When you fight for what's right, no one can stop you. Linda and Michael didn't lose because of me, but because of this entire neighborhood. I turned off the lights, smiling. Peace had returned, and I knew I'd always be here to keep it. The story: HOA enforcers blocked my driveway, over a $79 fine, unaware I'm chief of police. Reflects real issues in American society today, especially about abused power, discontent in small communities, and the strength of unity. In the story, Linda Grayson exploits her HOA position to impose absurd rules, fining Daniel Harper for 3.5-inch grass, Olivia for trash cans, Henry for a basketball hoop, to profit personally through shady contracts and fines, like siphoning $128,000 from the HOA fund. This mirrors reality in the U.S., where some individuals or organizations misuse authority in HOAs or local government, putting heavy pressure on essential workers like nurses and firefighters, people too busy keeping communities running to fight back. The injustice peaks when Linda goes as far as blocking an ambulance, endangering lives, a scenario echoing real-life disputes over HOA rules obstructing emergency services. The lesson here is in today's American society, when facing injustice from people like Linda, be it a neighbor, local official, or anyone abusing power, you shouldn't stay silent. Daniel, with 25 years as police chief, didn't just fight for Emily's Nome, but for all of Willow Creek, teaming up with Ryan, Olivia, Henry, and Mrs. Eleanor to expose Linda through an emergency meeting. Take it as an example, gather evidence like Daniel's bank statements and videos, find allies like Ryan or Anna Pierce, and bring the truth to light, via press or community meetings. Don't let pressure from Mayor Dawson or Linda's lawsuit threats deter you. Unity, like Willow Creek residents standing up, is the strongest weapon. In real life, if an HOA finds you unfairly, or a local official oversteps, document proof, connect with neighbors, and make it public. That's how to protect your community and uphold justice, true to the American spirit, freedom and responsibility. Thanks for watching my journey defending Willow Creek. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more justice stories like this. See you in the next video, where we'll keep exploring the power of community.